So hey guys, welcome to part two. We're comparing the John Carpenter Halloween with Rob Zombie's Halloween. And when we last left off in part one, we were talking about the Michael Myers origin and the character himself. Um, I just got done talking about in part one where I felt John Carpenter established the characteristics of Michael Myers better. The fact that he walks and doesn't run and everything else. But now I'm going to talk about why I actually, in some ways, give Rob Zombies a thumbs up on this part of the film. Um, I thought Rob Zombie explained more of the origin, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, because he explained the origin, he can't let his viewer leave that open for interpretation. Um, we got to see more of Michael Myers' childhood. I think the only childhood scenes we got to see in the original was him doing the killing at the beginning of part one. Um, Also, there was a deleted scene I think that was strictly shown on TV as far as like putting it at an accurate length for TV.
That was on NBC 15, I think.
Yeah,
Or
and
NBC, whatever.
yeah, it's also I think it's the director's cut of Halloween also, where I think you see Doctor Loomis walk in and say, you know what, you're gonna have to talk to me soon of why you do this, Michael, and then you just see him looking out the window, but you never see him talk. Um, Rob Zombie also went into more detail on kind of the whole evil look on the world, and because all Michael Myers lived with a bad family in the remake, uh, he wanted to explore the route with, well, what if this kid decided to become this way so he can kind of seek the revenge on the world because he hates the way we live. He hates that we're these violent species of animals, and that we only think about sex and violence, and that he's sick of seeing it himself. So in order to get rid of it, he has to kill the person in order to get rid of that thing that's bothering him. Um, Also, he kept some of Michael Myers' characteristics from the John Carpenter version, um, like the tilting head. He kept, even though it's not as emphasized as much as the John Carpenter version. Um, it's still in the film, so I give him credit for at least doing that. Um, and I'm going to let Seth talk now about the Michael Myers origin character.
I think the character definitely in the first one was definitely creepy and scary, and I thought it was well executed by John Carpenter. Whereas in the Rob Zombie film, he just felt like another um, slasher killer, like the Ghostface Scream or, just somebody else. He just didn't feel like Michael Myers in this film. Like I had stated earlier, he felt, just real, hillbilly trailer trash. Um, this guy who didn't get a lot of attention from his parents, and anytime he did, and of course he did something wrong, he would always get ridiculed for it and punished for it. And of course, over time, this all adds up, and eventually he kind of adapts this new lifestyle where he becomes violent and starts he dissects, animals and stuff like that. So, anyways, in regards to the origin of Michael Myers in the new film, I thought definitely they went into detail, but it was very, very sloppy.
I guess that's one reason why
I guess for me, it really wasn't needed, but of course, for a new audience, today, I think that's probably why Rob Zombie felt compelled to do it. But when we come down to origin and characters in general, one thing I really love is how well and how probably little time John Carpenter had to play with this film. Um, but I just overall, just the origin and characters was just superb. It was well done. It felt real without the blood and gore because for a horror film, you do not need those elements, to make a successful horror film. And in this film, he used I would say which was great because with the origin he did less. He actually gave less about the character, which actually makes it more mysterious. And he doesn't give a whole lot, which is great. And like I said, the character, Michael Myers and his mask, which happens to be I'm trying to think of his name from Star Trek.
Oh, William Shatner.
Oh yeah,
it's a faded William Shatner.
It's a faded William Shatner mask, which I thought was kind of funny. If you guys see Halloween on the special features, but Yeah, I think just overall it was done great. Um, really, not much else to say.
Also, one thing to note too, I actually kind of liked what Rob Zombie did with the Michael Myers outfits. I liked how he kind of added more cracks. I think it even shows here on the. So here's the Carpenter version, kind of clean cut, faded out, fresh out of the factory. And with the Rob Zombie one, he has like a lot of cracks on the mask, kind of this old faded look to it. Um, Also with his blue outfit that he wears, like imagine this is his blue outfit. It's a much darker blue. And one thing that's kind of scary about the Rob Zombie one too is whenever he does a killing, he keeps the blood on there. He doesn't pull Antoine Chigurh from No Country for Old Men and wash it off.
Mm-hmm.
He actually keeps it on there. He kind of that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
his trophy is saying that like he kind of
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't say that he's proud of it, but you get a
Mm-hmm.
sense that he
Well,
has
yeah,
no
he's
problem
a.
that there's blood on the outfit or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's another thing that kind of made the Rob Zombie one kind of scary, but like we talked before,
Mm-hmm. I
this,
think he
this
just
the whole mystery
he,
of the
he
Carpenter version was better.
he tried to make it a little too real. I guess that's the reason why I liked John Carpenter's version of Michael Myers a lot better. Um, because I think for most of his killings, he really didn't. I don't think he really had any ounce of blood on his clothes at all,
Nope.
which was great because even if he went from one victim to the next victim, he doesn't have any blood at all on his attire, and that just makes him stand out as like, well, maybe he's just a guy that's walking around on Halloween. But of course, he doesn't have anything on his attire, which makes him clean. But you still don't know who he is, what his personality's like. So it just has that creep, fact there, which I really enjoy. So as a horror film,
And, and next we're going to talk about, guys, we're going to talk about the Dr. Sam Loomis character. And strangely enough, they got the name Sam Loomis from Marion Crane's boyfriend from Psycho. That's where John Carpenter got the name. Um, I actually was neutral on this one simply because both actors I felt played the role very well. Donald Pleasance was great. He sticked around the whole series until his death. I think Halloween 6 was the last film he was a part of until he died. He died before H20 was filmed. Um, I just liked how he feels like a real doctor. You really get the impression that it's one of those things where if I can cure this guy, I'm going to do it. But if we can't cure this guy and if he breaks out, it's going to be my responsibility making sure I stop him before he does something too terrible. Um, and also, I guess the reason why, I guess for me and for everybody else, why we like to see Donald Pleasance in the role more so than Malcolm McDowell is because we're so used to seeing him play the part. I don't know, it's just because I've seen the film many times, I saw the sequels, and I'm used to seeing him play the role. I don't know if I slightly go toward the Donald Pleasance one for that reason, um, but I think that's why I kind of like him as the part. But however, I thought Malcolm McDowell was great too in the role. I liked how in the Rob Zombie one we actually see him get a gun rather than in the John Carpenter one he automatically just has a gun with him.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Rob Zombie one you actually see him go out to the gun store and choose. I think the gun guy of the store is talking about which one's the best gun to use for certain situations, and we actually get to see how he chose that gun the way he did. Um, I also liked when Michael Myers was in the insane asylum as a boy. He had these study videos where they were black and white. Michael Myers always had one of the masks that he made in the asylum on with him. And Dr. Loomis just evaluated him. He said, I noticed Michael doing this. I noticed Michael would say this. I noticed that black is his favorite color. This could represent that, he lives in a world where he doesn't see the bright colors. He only sees the darkness of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that part of the Rob Zombie version. And like I said, I love Malcolm McDowell as the role too. But like I said, I'm gonna probably have to give it to Dr. Donald Pleasance again, simply because I'm so used to him playing the part. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like how even though there's several James Bonds out right now, people still prefer Sean Connery because that's the Bond that people were first exposed to, I guess, in a way. So I'm gonna let Seth talk about the Dr. Loomis character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really loved the Loomis character, of course, in the John Carpenter's version. He just felt, like a real. Technically, wasn't he a detective at all?
he was just a doctor.
He was a doctor.
And because that was his patient, that's why he felt responsible.
It was great because not only was he a doctor, but of course, in my opinion, he felt more like a detective.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in the first film, even just this line when he had a conversation with the police officer, when they were doing some investigations, like, well, okay, well, we're gonna try to find your man, but anyways, and one of the lines like, death has come to your small little town, chief. And he's like, you're making this guy sound like he's invincible. But just overall, the character, Sam Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance, was phenomenal. I enjoyed it real well. And there was a lot of good moments. In regards to the Rob Zombie's version, I've only seen it once, and I'm just kind of trying to remember, what his character was like. But I think he was a little more gritty.
I guess one thing I didn't like about his, I noticed that Malcolm McDowell's Dr. Loomis would occasionally swear. And I guess in some ways I never saw Dr. Loomis as a guy that would swear a lot. He seems like the guy who would kind of be classy about what he does. And I don't know. I guess specifically in the first half of the film, he was so classy.
I think in the first
seeing him swear was kind of.
I think in the first film, Donald Pleasance, I don't think he ever swore.
And I guess that's why it was kind of weird for
he
him.
He might have sworn.
Yeah.
He probably would have gave foul language maybe in between 2 and 5, but in the first one, I don't think he ever did.
Yeah, like it just felt very awkward to see him. Also, the Malcolm McDowell one had some like occasionally he would like have a humorous scene. And I don't know. I guess Dr. Loomis is such a serious and classy character. Giving him both humor and swearing just didn't feel like Dr. Loomis to me. Mm-hmm. It just, I guess that's like I said, that's the Dr. Loomis I grew up with, and seeing him do those things just didn't feel like a Dr. Loomis to me.
Mm-hmm.
Anything more about that character? Or do you want to move on? Okay. Next, guys, we're going to talk about the film's visuals. I thought that the Carpenter version was clearly much better. It's aged better, more appealing to look at. The crew went far and beyond to make it look like fall in Illinois, even though they filmed it in California in the spring. Interesting use of pumpkins. I love the whole 70s Halloween time feeling of the movie. I thought the Halloween decorations and the town activities that happened on the week of Halloween that you see throughout the film when it's in its early phases felt like how a town would be like right before Halloween started. And I guess with the Rob Zombie one, because he is a heavy metal musician in real life also, I guess I just didn't like the whole heavy metal video concert feeling to it. It felt like, you know what I mean, Seth? It feels like something that you would play during one of his heavy metal concerts in the background to kind of show like, hey, I filmed this and this is what I want to play.
I think you can definitely feel like, from the visuals and the atmosphere and the way the camera was shaking, in the Rob Zombie film, and that's his style. Mm-hmm. It felt like, like you said, a heavy metal video.
And I guess it's okay to have your own style, but, do it in a way that works with the material you're working with. Mm-hmm. And I guess with me,
I think in a certain extent, like I said, with the camera shaking, like, which is involved in a, like in a chase scene, like when Laurie Strode's, being chased by Michael Myers when she's running away from him, when the camera's shaking, it felt real. It felt like, like, oh crap, Laurie Strode.
I guess it was more handled more appropriately too.
I don't think for this concept, with Michael Myers' concept, I don't think it really worked. I think in today's modern audience and the way I guess they view horror films, I think it worked. But for me, of course, watching the original, for me it was kind of cheesy. It was cliche. It just really didn't grab my attention.
Mm-hmm. So when we come back, you guys, we're going to explain more about the film's visuals, and we're also going to talk about things like Laurie Strode's friends, the horror aspect of the film, and how the concluding scene of both films affects our opinion of both versions. So make sure you stick around for part 3.